My name is Betty Rodriguez. I'm 42. At 9:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning in March, I was standing in the parking lot of Riverside Memory Care wearing my work boots and a tool belt, staring at my mother through a window while my brother Michael screamed at me that I was killing her with my selfishness. My mother, Linda, sat in a wheelchair inside, blank-faced from dementia, and she had no idea who either of us were. But Michael needed her signature on one more document, and I was the only thing standing in his way. You think you're better than us because you got Uncle Frank's money? Michael's face was 3 inches from mine. Spit hit my cheek. Mom needs that signature today, Betty. The facility won't wait. The facility bill was paid last month, I said. My voice was steady even though my hands were shaking. I saw the statement. This isn't about the facility. Of course you'd say that. Jennifer, my cousin, stepped between us. She'd driven 2 hours to be here, which told me everything. You've always been difficult, even at Uncle Frank's funeral. Don't. The word came out harder than I meant it. Don't talk about Frank's funeral. Michael's smile was thin and cold. Why? Because you're still upset about the paperwork? Betty, that was administrative. You signed it. It's done. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. I signed papers I couldn't read through tears, I said, at my uncle's funeral, while his casket was 15 feet away. Drama queen, Jennifer muttered. What did those papers say, Michael? My brother straightened his shoulders. He was wearing a suit at 9:47 on a Tuesday morning, which meant he'd planned this confrontation. They said exactly what I told you. Estate administrative transfer, streamlining the trust distribution. You got your share. What share? I haven't seen a single dollar from Uncle Frank's estate. It's been 11 months. Because you complicated everything, Michael's voice rose. Two nurses looked out the window. You and your questions and your lawyers. Frank left clear instructions. Then show me the instructions. I don't have to show you anything. I'm the executor. Mom gave me power of attorney 6 years ago, and Frank left everything to the family trust, which I manage. That's the end of it. My tool belt felt heavy on my hips. I'd come straight from a job site in Oakmont, 40 minutes away, because Michael's text said it was an emergency. Your mom is asking for you. She's having a hard day. Come now. I'd left my crew installing a 200-amp service panel to rush here, and my mother didn't even know my name anymore. If Frank left everything to the family trust, I said slowly, why did his lawyer call me 3 weeks ago asking if I'd received my inheritance yet? Michael's jaw twitched. Just once. What lawyer? Richard Mendoza, Uncle Frank's attorney for 20 years. He left me a voicemail on February 14th at 3:32 p.m. I still have it. Would you like to hear it? Jennifer's eyes widened. Michael recovered fast. Mendoza is retired, probably confused. Frank's estate was settled through Morrison and Associates. I have all the documentation. Then you won't mind if I request copies? You signed away your right to request anything, Betty. That's what the funeral paperwork was. A waiver of... He stopped himself. The parking lot went very quiet. A cardinal was singing somewhere in the oak tree behind us. I could hear traffic on Route 15 a half-mile away. My pulse was beating in my ears so loud I thought they could hear it. A waiver of what? I asked. Your inheritance rights. Michael said it like he was talking to a child. You didn't want the responsibility of managing Frank's affairs. You were too upset, too emotional, so you waived your claim and agreed to let the family trust handle everything. It's standard procedure when someone is too grief-stricken to make decisions. You told me I was signing a guestbook supplement. I told you it was administrative paperwork. You handed me a pen while I was crying over my uncle's casket and said, just sign here, it's nothing important. That's not how I remember it. Michael's voice had gone flat and cold. This was the voice he used when he'd made up his mind, and nothing would change it. And even if it were, you're a 42-year-old woman, Betty. You're responsible for what you sign. Maybe if you'd gone to college instead of trade school, you'd know how to read a legal document. Something shifted in my chest. Something small and hard, like a bolt clicking into place. Maybe, I said quietly, or maybe I'd know how to forge my mother's signature on a power of attorney application while she still had dementia, but could still hold a pen. Michael's face went white. Get out, Jennifer said. You're upsetting everyone. This is why nobody wants you around. I looked at my mother through the window. She was staring at a bird feeder, her mouth slightly open, her hands folded in her lap. The last time she'd recognized me was 3 years ago, when she'd grabbed my wrist at Christmas dinner and whispered, "Your brother is stealing from me." I'd thought it was the dementia talking. I'd patted her hand and given her more mashed potatoes. "I'm going," I said, "but I'm not signing anything, and I'm requesting a full accounting of Uncle Frank's estate through the probate court." "You can't." "I can. I called a lawyer yesterday. Filing fee is $385. I paid it this morning." Michael's hands curled into fists. "You'll regret this." "Maybe," I said, "but at least I'll regret something I chose to do, not something you tricked me into." I walked back to my truck, and I didn't look back. My hands were shaking so hard it took me 3 tries to get the key in the ignition. When I finally started the engine, I saw Michael on his phone, pacing, his face red. Jennifer was crying, and my mother was still staring at the bird feeder, somewhere far away, where none of this could touch her. Let me take you back 18 years to the summer I turned 24. Uncle Frank lived in a craftsman bungalow on Sycamore Street, with purple wisteria climbing the front porch and a garden that smelled like rosemary and tomato vines. He wasn't my real uncle, he was my father's younger brother, which made him my uncle by blood. But my family had stopped claiming him when he came out at 19. By the time I was old enough to understand why Thanksgiving only had 6 place settings instead of 7, Uncle Frank had been erased from every family photo, every holiday card, every story my parents told, but not from me. I found him by accident. I was 16, working my first apprenticeship with Martinez Electric, and we got called to fix a ceiling fan at a house on Sycamore Street. The owner was a slim man in his 50s with silver hair and kind eyes, and when he saw my last name on my shirt, he went very still. "Rodriguez?" he said. "Are you related to Martin Rodriguez?" "My father." I nodded. His smile was sad. "I thought so. You have his jawline. I'm Frank. I'm your uncle. But I'm guessing no one's mentioned me." They hadn't, but I came back the next weekend anyway, and then the weekend after that. Frank taught me about electrical work. He'd been an engineer before he retired, and I taught him about my life, my dreams, my plan to become a master electrician and run my own contracting business. He never asked about my father, and I never told him that my parents had forbidden me from seeing him when they found out. I was 24 by then, living on my own, making my own choices. "You're going to do extraordinary things, Sparky," Frank told me one Sunday afternoon. We were sitting on his porch drinking lemonade that tasted like summer and possibility. Sparky was his nickname for me. "And when you do, I want you to remember something. Being loved shouldn't require you to shrink yourself. Anyone who asks you to be smaller so they can feel bigger doesn't actually love you. They love the idea of you being manageable." I didn't understand what he meant. Not then. "I'll always be here if you need me," he said. "I promise you that, even when I'm not." That promise seemed impossible, but Frank had a way of making impossible things true. The first betrayal came 2 weeks after Uncle Frank died. I was at his funeral on a Saturday morning in April, standing beside his casket in a chapel that smelled like lilies and furniture polish, when Michael approached me with a manila folder tucked under his arm. "Hey," he said softly. He put his hand on my shoulder. "I know this is hard. Frank loved you a lot." My throat was too tight to speak. I just nodded. "Listen, there's some paperwork the estate attorney needs. Just administrative stuff. Confirmation that you were here, that you're aware of the services. Standard protocol." He pulled out 3 stapled documents. Can you just sign at the bottom of each page? I'll handle the rest. I was crying too hard to see the words clearly. The print swam and blurred. I saw phrases like estate distribution and hereby acknowledge and waive any further claim, but my brain couldn't process them. I'd just lost the only person in my family who'd ever truly seen me. It's nothing important, Michael said. He handed me a pen. Just sign here, here, and here. I signed. Michael hugged me. Thank you. I know how hard this is. We'll get through it together. Family sticks together, right? I believed him. 4 days later, I got a call from a woman named Patricia Chen at First National Bank. Ms. Rodriguez, this is Patricia from Estate Services. I'm calling about the closure of account ending in 4739, the joint account you held with Frank Rodriguez. We just need to confirm the forwarding address for the final statement. I'd been holding a cup of coffee. I set it down carefully. I didn't have a joint account with Uncle Frank. I'm showing you were added as a co-owner in 2019, but according to our records, you submitted a closure request and fund transfer authorization on April 9th. I'm just confirming the details. April 9th, the day of Frank's funeral. How much was in the account? My voice didn't sound like mine. Papers rustled. I can't disclose that since it's been closed, but the transfer was completed on April 10th to the Rodriguez Family Trust account. Is there a problem? No, I said. Thank you. I hung up. I sat at my kitchen table for maybe 20 minutes, staring at the wood grain, listening to my refrigerator hum. Then I called Michael. Hey! His voice was cheerful. What's up? Why did you close Uncle Frank's bank account? Pause. What? First National just called me. They said I authorized a transfer from an account Frank and I shared. I never authorized anything. Oh. Michael's tone shifted, became patient and slightly condescending. Betty, that's the administrative paperwork I had you sign. Frank left his accounts to the family trust, remember? We had to consolidate everything. It's standard estate procedure. You told me it was a guest confirmation. I said it was administrative paperwork related to the funeral. Estate consolidation is administrative. You're making this complicated for no reason. How much was in the account? That's trust information. I can't disclose it to individual beneficiaries. I'm not a beneficiary if I signed away my rights. Another pause, longer this time. You're overthinking this. Frank took care of everyone. When the estate settles, you'll receive your distribution. It takes time. These things are complicated. How much time? Could be a year. Could be 18 months. There's a lot to process. What about the house? I asked. And the lake cabin? What about them? Who owns them now? The trust, which I manage. Betty, I really don't understand why you're interrogating me about this. Frank appointed me executor for a reason. He trusted me. He trusted me too, I said. He added me to his bank account. Because he was sentimental and you visited him sometimes, that doesn't mean he wanted you to manage his assets. You're an electrician, Betty, not an estate attorney. The way he said electrician made it sound like janitor. I have to go, I said. I have a job starting in 10 minutes. Sure. Hey, Betty, let's not make this ugly, okay? Frank wouldn't want us fighting. I hung up without answering. Over the next 2 months, I tried asking questions. I called the probate court and requested public documents. I contacted Morrison and Associates, the law firm Michael claimed handled Frank's estate. They'd never heard of Frank Rodriguez. I asked my cousin Jennifer if she knew anything about the inheritance distribution. She told me I was being greedy and paranoid, that Michael was doing his best, that I'd always been the difficult one who couldn't just trust family. At a backyard barbecue in June, my Aunt Carol pulled me aside near the grill where my father was flipping burgers. I heard you're making trouble about Frank's will, she said quietly. I'm not making trouble, I'm asking questions. Same thing. She sipped her wine. Betty, Frank was the way he was. You know that. He didn't have a conventional life. Maybe he didn't leave things as organized as he could have. Michael is doing his best to sort through the mess. What mess? Frank was an engineer. He was meticulous. About electrical systems, maybe. Not about life. She patted my arm. Just let Michael handle it. He's got power of attorney for your mother, and he managed her finances just fine. Has he? I asked. Aunt Carol's smile tightened. What's that supposed to mean? Mom's memory care costs $7,200 a month. Her pension and Social Security cover $4,100. Where's the other $3,100 coming from? Her savings, obviously. She had $60,000 in savings when Dad died. That was 8 years ago. Even if Michael never touched it, which I doubt, it should be gone by now. But the bills keep getting paid. Maybe Michael is supplementing it from his own pocket. Have you considered that? Maybe he's sacrificing for family while you're over here playing detective. I wanted to argue, but I was standing in my father's backyard, surrounded by relatives who'd chosen their side years ago, and I was tired. So tired. Maybe, I said. I left the barbecue early. No one asked me to stay. The work kept me sane. I'd gotten my master electrician license 3 years earlier and started Rodriguez Electrical Contracting Services from my garage. By the time Uncle Frank died, I had 6 employees and a reputation for quality work in 3 counties. We did residential, commercial, industrial. I knew the National Electrical Code better than I knew my own family tree. I could wire a house in the dark. I could trace a fault through 400 feet of conduit by sound alone. The work was clean. The work had rules. The work made sense. On a Thursday morning in August, I was at a job site in Riverside, installing a main service upgrade for a client named Dorothy Huang. She was 76, a retired librarian, and she made me tea every morning at 9:30 a.m. You look tired, Betty, she said, handing me a cup of Earl Grey with exactly the amount of honey I liked. Are you sleeping? Not really. Family trouble? I must have made a face because she laughed. I've been alive 76 years. I know that expression. What happened? I told her. Not everything. Not about Frank being gay, not about the specific betrayal, but about an uncle who'd left me something, and a brother who'd convinced me to sign it away, and a family who thought I was crazy for asking questions. Dorothy listened without interrupting. When I finished, she set down her teacup very carefully. My daughter did something similar to me, she said. 12 years ago. Convinced me to put her name on my house deed just for estate planning. Then she took out a home equity loan without telling me and disappeared with $90,000. I didn't find out until the bank started foreclosure proceedings. My stomach dropped. What did you do? I fought, got a lawyer, proved I never authorized the loan. It took 3 years and cost me $40,000 in legal fees, but I kept my house. She looked at me very directly. Betty, people who steal from family count on you staying quiet. They count on you valuing peace over justice. Don't give them what they want. I don't have $40,000 for legal fees. Then find another way, but don't stop asking questions. She stood, smoothing her cardigan. Now finish your tea. That panel won't install itself. 2 weeks later, I was at Home Depot buying wire connectors when I saw Jennifer in the parking lot. She was loading shopping bags into a BMW I'd never seen her drive before. The car was new. Temporary tags in the window, dealer sticker still on the back glass. Nice car? I called out. Jennifer jumped. Actually jumped. Then she composed herself. Betty, hi. I didn't see you. New? What? The car. Is it new? Oh, yes. Michael helped me with the financing. Early birthday present. Your birthday is in February. Early present? She laughed, but it sounded hollow. Listen, I'm in a hurry. The sticker says $68,000. I got a good deal. That's still a lot of money for someone who works part-time at a dental office. Jennifer's face hardened. Not that it's your business, but I've been saving. And Michael co-signed. He's generous like that. He helps family. With what money? His money, Betty. He's a financial consultant. He does well. Does he? Because last I checked, he was 3 months behind on his mortgage. Chase Bank sent a foreclosure notice to Mom's address. I saw it when I visited her in June. Jennifer's jaw dropped. Then she recovered. You went through Mom's mail? It was on the table in her room. The nurses leave it there in case she wants to look at it, even though she can't read anymore. You had no right. Jennifer, where is Michael getting his money? I don't have to listen to this. She got in her BMW and slammed the door. Through the window, I saw her hands shaking on the steering wheel. She drove away too fast. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about numbers. $68,000 for a car, $3,100 a month for Mom's care, Michael's foreclosure notice, Uncle Frank's mysterious estate that never seemed to settle, the bank account I'd supposedly signed away. At 2:47 a.m., I got out of bed and opened my laptop. I searched for Richard Mendoza, the attorney who'd left me that voicemail in February. His website was simple: Estate Planning and Trust Administration, serving families in the Tri-County area since 1998. I called the number and left a voicemail. Mr. Mendoza, this is Betty Rodriguez. You called me in February about my Uncle Frank's estate. I need to talk to you. Please call me back. He called me at 7:05 a.m. the next morning. Ms. Rodriguez, he said, I'm glad you reached out. I've been trying to contact you for months. My heart started pounding. About what? About your inheritance. Frank left very specific instructions. I'm his estate attorney, the actual one, not whoever your brother claims settled the estate. Frank updated his will 14 months before he died. You're the primary beneficiary. I sat down hard on my kitchen floor. What? His house on Sycamore Street, the lake cabin on Pinewood Drive, and his investment accounts. Total value approximately $730,000. He left it all to you, Betty. Every dollar. I couldn't breathe. That's not... Michael said everything went to the family trust. There is no family trust. Or rather, there was one, but Frank dissolved it in 2021 and created a new will leaving everything directly to you. He was very clear about this. He even wrote me a letter explaining why. Why? Papers rustled. He said, and I quote, Betty is the only one who loved me when it cost her something. Everyone else loved the idea of reconciliation, but only on their terms. She loved me on my terms. She deserves everything I can give her. I was crying, sitting on my kitchen floor in my pajamas at 7:07 a.m., crying so hard I couldn't see. Ms. Rodriguez, are you there? Why didn't you tell me this before? I tried. I sent 3 letters to your last known address. I left voicemails. But then I received documentation from your brother claiming to be the executor, along with a notarized waiver of inheritance signed by you. It appeared legitimate. I filed an objection with the probate court, but without hearing from you directly, there wasn't much I could do. The funeral, I whispered. He had me sign papers at Uncle Frank's funeral. Silence. Then, that's unconscionable, and possibly illegal. Can you come to my office? I think we need to have a very detailed conversation about what happens next. When? How about today? 2 o'clock? I called my site foreman and told him I'd be out for the afternoon. Then I drove to Richard Mendoza's office in a building on Northwest 23rd Avenue that smelled like old books and possibility. Richard Mendoza was 67, with gray hair and the careful, precise manner of a man who'd spent 40 years dealing with family warfare. He made me coffee I didn't drink and sat across from me with a folder 2 inches thick. Betty, I'm going to be very direct with you. What your brother did was fraud. Possibly criminal fraud. The documents you signed at the funeral weren't estate administration. They were quitclaim forms waiving your right to contest Frank's will and transferring your inheritance to a trust that doesn't legally exist. He used your grief as a weapon. My hands were shaking. I folded them in my lap. Can we fix it? Possibly. But it won't be easy. He's had 11 months to move assets, hide money, create paper trails. And he's had access to your mother's finances under power of attorney, which gives him legal coverage for certain transactions. He's been using Mom's money to steal from Uncle Frank's estate? I don't know yet, but that would be my guess. Frank's will specifically excluded all other family members. Your brother knew he'd get nothing, so he manufactured a way to get everything. How do we prove it? Richard leaned forward. We need two things. First, we need to prove you signed those documents under duress and deception. That's going to require witness testimony about your state of mind at the funeral. Second, we need to prove he's misused the assets. Bank records, property transfers, anything that shows he moved money improperly. I can get you witnesses. At least 3 people saw me crying when I signed. And I might be able to get bank records through my mother's care facility. Good. But Betty, I need you to understand something. If we do this, your family will turn against you completely. They'll call you a liar, a troublemaker, greedy. They'll make you the villain of every story. Can you handle that? I thought about Uncle Frank's porch, the smell of rosemary, the way he called me Sparky. I thought about him being erased from family photos, excluded from holidays, treated like a ghost because of who he loved. I thought about him sitting in that craftsman bungalow alone, year after year, until a 16-year-old girl showed up to fix his ceiling fan and stayed for lemonade. Yes, I said, I can handle that. Then let's get started. Over the next 6 months, Richard and I built our case like I built electrical systems, methodically, carefully, following code. We requested bank statements through a probate court order. We subpoenaed property transfer records. We found the notary who'd supposedly witnessed my signature on the quitclaim forms. She'd never met me, never seen me sign, and had notarized the documents based on Michael's word alone. We found more. Uncle Frank's house had been sold in June for $450,000. The deed transfer showed my forged signature as the owner relinquishing the property. The buyer was an LLC, registered to Michael's business partner. The lake cabin had been transferred similarly. $280,000, another LLC, another forged signature. Both properties had been mine. Michael had stolen them using documents I'd signed while crying at a funeral, thinking I was signing a guest book supplement. This is good, Richard said when we met in October. This is very, very good, or very bad depending on how you look at it. But for our case, it's solid. We have fraud, forgery, elder abuse through the POA, and theft. The question is, do you want to pursue criminal charges or civil recovery? What's the difference? Criminal charges mean the district attorney gets involved. Possible jail time for Michael, but slower process, higher burden of proof. Civil recovery means we sue for the assets, demand restitution, and let the court sort it out. Faster, but he won't face criminal consequences. What would Uncle Frank want? Richard opened his desk drawer and pulled out an envelope. He left you this. I was supposed to give it to you after the estate settled, but given the circumstances, I think now is the right time. The envelope was cream-colored, heavy paper, with my name in Uncle Frank's handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Dear Sparky, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and Michael is already doing what I knew he would do. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I tried to prevent this while I was alive, but he's clever, and I knew he'd find a way around any safeguards I put in place. So I did something else. I planned. Do you remember the day we fixed Mrs. Patterson's porch light, and you told me you wanted to start your own business? You were 19. I told you that the secret to building something that lasts isn't having the biggest tools or the most money. It's having the right foundation and the patience to do things correctly, even when cutting corners would be easier. You said, even if it takes longer? And I said, especially then. I've been building your foundation for 8 years, Sparky. Every document is filed correctly. Every signature is witnessed. Every transfer is recorded. The original will is with Richard Mendoza at his office on Northwest 23rd Avenue. His number is 503-555-0147. Inside this envelope, you'll find a copy of my will dated March 15th, 2021, leaving everything to you. Bank statements showing the joint account I added you to in 2019. Property deeds for the house and cabin with your name as beneficiary. A letter I wrote to the probate court explaining my wishes. Receipts for every legal filing, every notarization, every witness fee. A safety deposit box key. Box 287 at First National Bank. Inside is $50,000 in cash, and a letter explaining where I've hidden proof of your mother's original power of attorney, the one she signed before the dementia, which specifically excluded Michael from financial decisions. Don't show this to anyone yet. Not your father, not Jennifer, not even people you think you can trust. Wait until Richard tells you the time is right. He'll know. You are not difficult, Sparky. You are not ungrateful. You are not greedy. You are the girl who drove 40 minutes every Sunday to have lemonade with her disgraced uncle because you saw past what everyone else chose to see. You are the woman who built a business from nothing because you had the courage to trust your own hands. I love you. I've always loved you. And I'm so proud of who you've become. All my heart. Uncle Frank P.S. The wisteria is yours now. Don't let it die. I read the letter 3 times. Then I looked up at Richard through tears. He knew, I said. He knew exactly what Michael would do. Frank was a brilliant man, and he loved you very much. Richard pulled out another folder. The safety deposit box. Have you opened it? Not yet. I think it's time. We went to the bank together. Box 287 was small, narrow, tucked in the middle row of the vault. Inside was exactly what Frank had promised, $50,000 in cash, bundled in hundreds, and a sealed envelope labeled Linda's POA, Original 2014. I opened it with shaking hands. The document inside was 8 years old, signed by my mother when she was still sharp, still capable. It granted power of attorney to Frank Rodriguez, not Michael, and it specifically stated, under no circumstances is Michael Rodriguez to have access to my financial accounts or medical decisions. This is my explicit wish. Oh my God, I whispered. Michael never had legitimate POA, which means every financial decision he made on her behalf was unauthorized. Every bill he paid with her money, every account he accessed, every transfer he made, all of it was fraud. He's been stealing from her for 6 years. At minimum, probably longer. Richard carefully put the documents back in the envelope. Betty, this changes everything. This isn't just about your inheritance anymore. This is about your mother's care, her safety, her assets. We have to report this. What happens to him? Honestly, if the DA pursues this, he's looking at multiple felony counts. Fraud, forgery, elder abuse, theft. He could go to prison. And Mom? We'll petition for guardianship. You'll become her legal guardian and power of attorney. You'll have full control over her care and finances. I thought about my mother in that wheelchair, staring at the bird feeder somewhere far away. I thought about Michael using her blank stares as cover while he stole everything she'd saved, everything Frank had tried to protect. Do it, I said. File everything, report everything. I'm done protecting people who never protected me. But Michael wasn't done. On a Friday afternoon in November, I was at a job site in Riverside installing junction boxes when my phone rang. Jennifer's number. Betty, you need to stop this. Her voice was shaking. Michael told me what you're doing. The lawyers, the court filings, the accusations. You're tearing this family apart. I'm not tearing anything apart. I'm fixing what Michael broke. He didn't break anything. He's been managing everything perfectly. Mom is cared for, the estate is settled, Everyone is fine except you because you can't accept that Uncle Frank didn't leave you as much as you thought you deserved. Frank left me everything, Jennifer. The house, the cabin, all of it. Michael stole it and forged my signature on fake documents. That's not management, that's theft. You're delusional. She was crying now. Do you know what this is doing to the family? Aunt Carol won't talk to you. Dad thinks you've lost your mind. And Michael, God, Betty, he's devastated. He's been nothing but good to you. He's a liar and a thief. You're going to regret this. When the truth comes out and you realize you were wrong, you're going to regret destroying your family over money. I'm not destroying anything. I'm just asking for what was mine. Then you're selfish, just like Mom always said. The line went dead. I stood there in my client's garage, holding my phone, wearing my tool belt. My apprentice, Tommy, was watching me carefully. You okay, boss? Yeah, I said. I put my phone away. Let's finish this panel. We're losing daylight. But I wasn't okay. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling and wondered if Jennifer was right. If I was destroying my family, if this was worth it. Then I thought about Uncle Frank's letter. You are not difficult. You are not ungrateful. You are not greedy. I fell asleep around 3 a.m. The confrontation came on a Sunday in December. My Aunt Teresa had passed away 2 weeks earlier. My father's older sister, 79 years old, peaceful death in her sleep. The memorial service was at Riverside Community Church, the same place we'd held Uncle Frank's funeral. Over 40 relatives packed the pews. I sat in the back alone. Michael was in the front row with Jennifer and my father. He'd given the eulogy, something about Teresa's devotion to family, her generosity, her legacy of love. People nodded and cried. No one mentioned that Teresa had stopped speaking to 3 of her 4 children over various betrayals, or that she'd died alone in a nursing home because no one visited anymore. After the service, everyone gathered in the fellowship hall for coffee and pound cake. I was standing by the window watching sleet fall when Michael walked over. Betty. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. Can we talk? Here? Why not? Everyone's here anyway. He raised his voice slightly. I think it's time we settled this as a family. People turned to look. The room went quiet. Settled what? I asked. This situation with Uncle Frank's estate. Betty, I understand you're upset. I understand you feel you deserved more. But making accusations, filing lawsuits, dragging our family's name through the mud, it has to stop. I'm not dragging anything through the mud. I'm asking for what Frank left me. Frank left everything to the family trust. I've explained this. You signed the paperwork. I signed paperwork you told me was administrative. At his funeral, while I was crying, someone gasped. Aunt Carol moved closer. That's a very serious accusation, Michael said. His voice was calm, reasonable. Are you really claiming I tricked you? I'm claiming you committed fraud. The room went completely silent. Even the coffee pot stopped percolating. Michael's smile was sad and patient. Betty, I love you. We all love you. But you're not thinking clearly. This has consumed you. You've become obsessed with money that was never yours to begin with. Frank loved all of us. He wouldn't want you destroying the family over greed. Frank didn't love all of you. My voice was steady. Most of you wouldn't even speak to him. You erased him from family photos because he was gay. You didn't invite him to holidays. You acted like he didn't exist. I was the only one who visited him. The only one who called him on his birthday. The only one who gave a damn whether he lived or died. My father stood up. Betty, that's enough. No, Dad, it's not enough. It's not nearly enough. I pulled out my phone. Uncle Frank left me a letter. He predicted everything Michael would do. Every lie, every manipulation, every forged document. Do you want to hear it? This isn't the time, Jennifer started. When is the time? When Michael's stolen everything? When Mom has nothing left? When I'm too broken to fight back? Michael's jaw tightened. You're making a scene at Teresa's memorial service. Not everything is about you, Betty. The fellowship hall doors opened. Richard Mendoza walked in, followed by a man in a suit I didn't recognize. Actually, Richard said clearly, this is about Betty, and it's about justice. My name is Richard Mendoza. I'm the attorney for Frank Rodriguez's estate, the real estate attorney, not whatever fiction Mr. Rodriguez has been selling you. Michael went pale. You can't. This is a funeral. It's a memorial service, and I apologize for the interruption, but this couldn't wait. Richard pulled out a folder. Last week, the probate court issued a ruling. Frank Rodriguez's will, dated March 15th, 2021, is valid and legally binding. The documents Michael Rodriguez presented, claiming to be Betty Rodriguez's waiver of inheritance, have been examined by a forensic expert and determined to be fraudulent. The signatures are authentic, but the documents themselves were misrepresented at the time of signing, constituting fraud under state law. Gasps rippled through the room. Aunt Carol put her hand over her mouth. Furthermore, Richard continued, property transfers completed by Michael Rodriguez using forged signatures are void. The house on Sycamore Street and the cabin on Pinewood Drive are hereby restored to Betty Rodriguez as the legal owner and sole beneficiary. This is ridiculous. Michael's voice cracked. She's lying! She signed those documents willingly. Did she know what she was signing? The man in the suit asked. He stepped forward. My name is Detective Marcus Webb. I'm with the Financial Crimes Unit. Mr. Rodriguez, we've been investigating your activities for 6 weeks. Betty Rodriguez has provided testimony, along with 3 witnesses, that you presented documents at Frank Rodriguez's funeral and told her they were just administrative paperwork. Is that accurate? Michael's face was bright red. She was upset. I was trying to help. By having her sign away $730,000, that's an interesting definition of help. She wasn't capable of making decisions. She was too emotional. So you took advantage of her grief? Detective Webb pulled out a notebook. We've also been looking into your use of Linda Rodriguez's power of attorney, specifically $340,000 in unauthorized transfers from her accounts over the past 6 years. Jennifer made a choking sound. My father sat down heavily. That was for her care, Michael was shouting now. She needed round-the-clock support. The facility costs $7,200 per month, I said quietly. Her pension and Social Security cover $4,100. Her savings should have covered the difference for less than 2 years. But you've been paying it for 6 years. Where did that extra money come from, Michael? I supplemented it. I used my own money. You're 3 months behind on your mortgage. Chase Bank sent you a foreclosure notice. How are you supplementing anything? That's none of your business. It became my business when you started stealing from our mother to fund your lifestyle while she deteriorates in a care facility you barely visit. Michael lunged toward me. My father caught his arm. Michael, stop. Just stop. She's ruining everything. Michael was crying now, actually crying. I worked so hard. I managed everything. I kept the family together. And she wants to destroy it all because she's jealous that Frank loved me enough to make me executor. Frank didn't make you executor, Richard said quietly. He made Betty his sole beneficiary and me his executor. You invented your role entirely. The truth hung in the air like smoke. Michael looked around the room, at Jennifer's shocked face, at my father's disappointment, at Aunt Carol's disgust. Then he looked at me. You'll never prove any of this, he said. His voice was low and vicious. You're just a Sparky with a high school education and a grudge. I have lawyers. I have documentation. I have Uncle Frank's original will, I said. I have witness testimony from the notary you paid to forge my signature. I have bank records showing every unauthorized transfer from Mom's accounts. I have the original power of attorney Mom signed before the dementia, the one that specifically excluded you. And I have a letter from Uncle Frank predicting every single thing you do. Michael's mouth opened. Nothing came out. I also have my work logs, I added. You remember when you claimed I was at the lawyer's office on June 3rd signing property transfer documents? I was in Oakmont installing a 200-amp service panel. I have the job permits, the inspection sign-off, the client signature, and the timestamp from my truck's GPS showing I was 40 miles away. You forged those signatures, Michael, not me. Detective Webb put his hand on Michael's shoulder. Mr. Rodriguez, I think we should continue this conversation at the station. The room erupted. People talking, crying, shouting questions. Jennifer was sobbing. My father was staring at Michael like he'd never seen him before. Aunt Carol grabbed my arm. Is this true? She whispered. All of it? Yes. Oh, Betty. Oh my God. We didn't know. We thought you were just... We didn't know. I pulled my arm away gently. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. I walked out of the fellowship hall, through the sleet, to my truck. Richard followed me. You okay? He asked. Ask me later. Betty, you did it. You got your inheritance back. Your mother's guardianship. Justice for Frank. I know. I was crying now. Finally crying. But I lost my family. Sweetheart, you never had them. Not really. They just had the idea of you, and only when it was convenient. I drove home in the sleet and sat in my driveway for 20 minutes before I could make myself go inside. 6 months later, I was standing on Uncle Frank's porch, watching the wisteria bloom purple and wild. The house was mine again. Richard had handled the legal transfers, the title corrections, the reversal of Michael's fraudulent sales. The lake cabin was mine too. I'd spent 2 weekends there in April, sitting on the dock, watching the water, thinking about nothing and everything. Michael was awaiting trial on 6 counts of fraud, 3 counts of elder abuse, and 2 counts of forgery. Jennifer had stopped speaking to me entirely. My father called once, said, "I'm sorry," in a voice that sounded broken, and hung up before I could respond. I'd become Mom's legal guardian. She was still at Riverside Memory Care, still blank-faced and distant, but the bills were paid from her own accounts now, properly managed, carefully documented. Sometimes I visited and held her hand, even though she didn't know who I was. Sometimes I told her about Uncle Frank, about the wisteria, about how I was learning to tend his garden. Rodriguez Electrical Contracting had grown. I had 12 employees now, 3 trucks, a reputation that stretched across 5 counties. My apprentice Tommy had passed his journeyman exam. Dorothy Huang had referred me to 6 of her friends. And every Sunday, I made lemonade from Uncle Frank's recipe and sat on his porch listening to the cardinals sing. If you're watching this and you've ever been called difficult for asking questions, or greedy for wanting what's yours, or selfish for setting boundaries, know this: those words are tools used by people who benefit from your silence. The moment you start speaking up, they'll tell you you're destroying the peace. But there was never peace. There was only your silence and someone else's comfort. You don't need permission to fight for yourself. You don't need permission to ask for the truth. You don't need permission to walk away from people who see your love as a resource to be exploited. I spent 18 years believing my family loved me. They didn't. They loved the version of me that didn't ask questions, didn't challenge Michael, didn't demand more than scraps. The moment I became someone who expected honesty, I became the villain. But Uncle Frank saw the real me. He saw Sparky, the 16-year-old girl who showed up to fix a ceiling fan and stayed for lemonade. The 24-year-old woman who visited every Sunday even when it cost her. The 42-year-old electrician who had the courage to wire her own life correctly, even when everyone told her she was doing it wrong. He loved me on my terms, not theirs. That's the difference between people who love you and people who love what you can do for them. If you've had to make that same choice, to walk away from people who called it family but treated it like a transaction, type "I chose myself" in the comments. Or if you're still deciding, if you're still sitting in that fellowship hall wondering whether speaking up is worth the cost, type "I'm still deciding." Both are okay. Both are brave. Check the description for more stories about finding your voice when everyone wants you to stay quiet. Thank you for being here.